The holidays are coming, and as much as there should be good news, it isn't for a lot of Americans who are flat out broke even before the holidays start. What are the facts around this, and why are so many Americans broke heading into the holidays? Stick around to find out. The holiday season is usually a time for joy, family, and celebration, but for many Americans, it's also a reminder of the financial burdens lurking beneath the surface. With inflation rising and wages staying flat, almost half of the population is facing money troubles this year. Instead of looking forward to the festivities, millions are dealing with growing debt and shrinking savings, turning the holidays into a time of stress rather than cheer. And it's hard to avoid the pressure to spend. It's everywhere. From social media ads to TV commercials and even those subtle hints in movies and books, people are constantly being nudged to buy more. As the holidays roll in, it feels less like a choice and more like a must-do task to buy gifts, adding to the mounting pressure. And that's why it's not a surprise that credit cards have become a go-to for holiday shopping, but the aftermath can be brutal. A WalletHub survey found that nearly 50% of Americans are still paying off debt from last year's holiday season, twice as many as in previous years. This shocking statistic shows just how deeply holiday debt has woven itself into society. But the financial strain doesn't stop when the holidays are over. What was once a tool for convenience and rewards has become a lifeline for many. While most people intend to pay off their balances each month, life doesn't always cooperate. Nearly half end up carrying debt from month to month, piling on high interest charges for loans they never planned on taking. As of October 2024, credit card debt in the US hit a staggering $1.17 trillion, with millions stuck in a cycle of borrowing to cover everyday expenses. Every year, credit card balances tend to climb during the fourth quarter, only to drop again in the first quarter as people catch up on their bills. But lately, more and more people are carrying those balances well into the new year. What was once a convenient tool for rewards has now become a financial lifeline for many, and not without its downsides. With the average interest rate on credit cards soaring past 20%, keeping up with payments can be a real challenge if you don't pay off your balance right away. As a result, not only are more people carrying debt, but the amounts they owe is steadily growing. As the holiday shopping season kicks off, many Americans are heading into it with a hefty amount of debt still hanging around last year's holidays. Credit card statements are still lingering long after the season is over. According to WalletHub, 47% of consumers are still in debt from the last holiday season. Holiday shopping, a major contributor to credit card debt, continues to put pressure on American consumers. Another survey by NerdWallet found that 28% of those who used credit cards for gifts last year haven't paid off their balances yet. Some are even spending up to 40% of their paychecks just to chip away at this growing mountain of debt, and it's taking a real toll, both financially and mentally. Credit cards may seem like an easy fix, but for many, they're just the start of an even deeper financial struggle. The rising cost of living is really putting a strain on families. Inflation has caused prices to spike across the board, from groceries to rent. Now families are spending nearly $1,000 more each month than they did 3 years ago just to cover the basics. Housing costs are a huge part of the problem too, with half of renters in the US spending more than 30% of their income on rent. And things are only getting worse. 2.1 million affordable housing units disappeared in 2024, causing evictions to surge. Food prices are also part of the problem. Grocery bills aren't just an afterthought anymore, they're a big deal. About 70% of grocery purchases are now made on credit cards, and only a third of people manage to pay off their balances in full. As a result, many families are relying on food banks or skipping meals to get by. But here's the thing, rising costs aren't just affecting families. Utilities, insurance, and other essentials have also become a financial burden. Many households are being forced to make tough decisions, cutting back on important things like healthcare and education just to keep up with the basics. Retirees are feeling the pinch too. Even with annual Social Security increases, inflation has eroded 20% of their buying power, leaving many turning to credit cards to cover daily expenses. A 2024 survey found that 68% of retirees still have credit card debt, and 31% admit they're spending more than they can afford. And it's not just older generations struggling. Debt is a problem for all ages. Gen Z, for example, has an average credit card balance of nearly $3,000 by their early 20s, a big jump from millennials at the same age. With wages stagnant and costs on the rise, younger Americans are using credit cards to make ends meet, often finding themselves trapped in a cycle of debt right from the start. Even millennials and Gen X are caught in a tough spot, squeezed by rising costs and the pressure of supporting both aging parents and children. With skyrocketing rents, unaffordable childcare, and lingering student loans, these generations have little left to put aside for savings. Retirees aren't left out of the struggle either. Inflation and insufficient savings are pushing many back into the workforce, often taking on low-wage jobs just to pay off debt or cover basic living expenses. It's a far cry from the comfortable retirement they once imagined. Due to this, many Americans are facing serious emotional burdens. The weight of financial stress goes beyond just the numbers. It's a mental and emotional roller coaster. Around 4 in 10 Americans worry that missing a single credit card payment could derail their financial plans for months. People are dealing with everything from anxiety to feelings of hopelessness about their debt, and for many, managing debt has become a full-time job. Between juggling multiple balances, manually tracking payments, and struggling with fluctuating interest rates, it's easy to feel like you're always a step behind. And while balance transfers might seem like a way out, the fees can quickly pile up, often making things worse rather than better. The desperation to escape financial struggles has even led to alarming trends, such as parents stealing their children's identities to open credit accounts. Research shows 1 in 50 kids falls victim to identity theft each year, often at the hands of someone they know. This can ruin a child's credit before they even enter adulthood, making it harder for them to secure student loans, housing, or jobs in the future. As we head into the 2024 holiday season, it's clear that many Americans are feeling the financial strain more than ever. The pressure to juggle debt, especially during the holidays, is having a serious impact on mental health. Feelings of stress, anxiety, and even guilt are common as families try to meet the social expectations of gift-giving, all while worrying about their finances. To make ends meet, many are cutting back on the essentials, skimping on things like groceries, utilities, and healthcare just to afford holiday expenses. And inflation is making everything worse. Prices are up across the board, and even though job growth and a strong labor market are helping, many Americans feel like they're worse off now than they were 10 years ago. Rent has gone up, with millions of households now spending a third or more of their income just to keep a roof over their heads. Some are even having to move back in with family or live in their cars. Healthcare isn't much to afford either. Even those with insurance are skipping doctors' visits because they can't handle the cost. And for those without insurance, it's even worse. Nearly 83% avoid medical care entirely, risking their health just to save money. And what's more, transportation costs are through the roof. Car prices have jumped 30 to 38% since the pandemic, making it a luxury for many to own a vehicle. Public transportation, or keeping an old car running, is becoming the new norm as people try to adapt to these rising costs. Chief economist Gregory Dacre warns that the combination of stagnant wages, dwindling savings, and rising debt could lead to an economic crisis of catastrophic proportions. Consumer spending, a key driver of the US economy, is slowing as Americans tighten their budgets. The American dream, a stable job, a home, and financial security, feels increasingly out of reach for many. A 2024 MarketWatch study found that 48.6% of Americans consider themselves broke, up from 37.6% in 2023. Women are disproportionately affected, with 55.8% reporting financial insecurity compared to 41.1% of men. However, despite the grim outlook, many Americans are finding ways to adapt. More than 80% have trimmed non-essentials like clothing, entertainment, and home decor from their budgets. Even the basics such as groceries and utilities are getting the budget axe as families search for cheaper options. Leftovers are getting a second life too. Families are becoming masters of frugality, making sure every dollar goes as far as possible. Seeking help has also become common. Food banks, government programs, and community support are crucial lifelines for many households, offering some relief from the financial strain. But even with these efforts, breaking free from the debt cycle remains tough. Without some major policy changes or a change in the economy, the financial pressure on families is only set to get worse in the future. The question remains, what will it take to turn things around? As we approach the new year, the outlook remains uncertain. Rising costs, mounting debt, and stagnant wages paint a bleak picture for many American families. From cutting back on holiday celebrations to skipping basic necessities, people are being forced to make tough decisions every day. The road to recovery will require systemic changes, including addressing wage stagnation, improving access to affordable housing, and reining in inflation. Until then, the financial stress that millions of Americans face will continue to reshape the fabric of everyday life. That's all for this video on the credit crisis and how nearly half of Americans are broke heading into the holidays. What do you think about these disheartening facts? Let us know in the comments section and enjoy our other videos.